Boxing greats Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford are finally going to square off against one another in a fight that has been eagerly awaited. They're both considered to be among the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and their fight will have a significant impact on their legacies because the ultimate victor will be recognized as the undisputed champion of the welterweight division. Therefore, continue watching to see what pros have to say about who they think will win the fight. But before we do that, let's have a look at who is the most heavily favored fighter and who has the advantage in terms of strength. According to oddsmakers, Spence Jr. or Crawford. The fight has been a long time coming, and fans are excited to finally see it. Thus, boxing fans who are interested in betting may add another dimension to the pleasure of watching the sport. The result of the battle is very close to being determined by a flip of a coin, according to the odds, until the odds began to change significantly in Crawford's favor. The money line at FanDuel Sportsbook was even between Crawford and Spence at -112 until it favored Crawford, and he is now the -138 favorite, while Spence is at the +125 position. But as more people bet on one side or the other of the battle, the odds shift accordingly. Crawford's odds of scoring a knockout or technical knockout are +360, while Spence's are +550. Also, the scorecards give Spence odds of +180 to win the fight, while Crawford's chances are +185. Since the beginning of 2019, Spence has only competed in 2 fights. Despite this, betting odds suggest that nobody should be shocked by the result of the fight, regardless of what it is. In addition, Crawford has participated in more professional fights than Spence has, and he has had fewer injuries in recent years. However, the gamblers don't seem to care about Spence Jr. or Crawford's past, since they're still clicking and voting for the fighter they believe should win the championship, and Crawford is now in the lead position. Errol Spence Jr.'s strength. Spence made his debut in the world of professional boxing with a fight against Jonathan Garcia, which ended in a knockout in the 3rd round. But for him, things are not always milk and honey due to the fact that in August of 2021, Spence had surgery to fix a retinal detachment. After being involved in a collision with a car head-on in December 2022 and sustaining severe injuries, the great boxer fractured several of his teeth. Also, it was hypothesized by medical professionals that this was the source of subsequent eye issues. But on the other hand, Spence is completely back to his old fighting form. Spence is a follower of a popular trend in the sport pushed by premier boxing champions, but he has found greater success than other boxers in the welterweight division since he owns belts from the WBC, WBA, and IBF. Also, he fights southpaw and has a powerful jab, which has been shown again and again during his career. Despite the fact that Spence is much bigger than Crawford, this fight is not at all an unfair matchup. Terence Crawford's strength. Do not assume that since Crawford is a smaller fighter and perhaps not as powerful as Spence, that he is a physically weak opponent because of these factors. When Terence Crawford made his debut as a professional boxer in March 2008, he knocked out his opponent, Brian Cummings, in only 26 seconds. In other words, Crawford adapts his fighting technique to match that of his southpaw opponent while they're in competition. Crawford is a fantastic offensive fighter, and it's thrilling to watch him work his opponent in the ring because of this. In addition, Crawford seems to be at the pinnacle of his confidence as they move into their fight with Spence. But that's not all. The fact that some of the best boxing professionals in the world are on his side is yet another indication that he could have more strength and power than his opponent. Teddy Atlas makes a daring prediction. When it comes to the fight for the undisputed welterweight title, legendary trainer and commentator Teddy Atlas sees only one powerful winner in the making.
Bang, 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 bang! Then you can close the gap.
In an interview with The Last Stand, Atlas said that he believes there will be only one victor when the two 147-pound stars compete. When asked to make a prediction, Atlas said Crawford will win the fight. In response to the question,
in your opinion, Spence, Crawford, who wins that fight?
Crawford.
To begin, he has increased his strength by carrying it up. Spence is a nasty piece of work. He's got size. He's the more natural welterweight. He's got a terrific body puncher. And he's got an underappreciated jab. He's technically very solid. It seems as if I'm going to choose him. However, Crawford may be the most instinctual fighter I've ever seen. He's one of the few boxers of this generation who compose his own music, making him unique among his peers. And just one more thing, he's a freaking junkyard dog, Teddy Atlas said. Manny Pacquiao drops prediction. Pacquiao, of course, is a boxing legend and a former welterweight champion. Pacquiao and Spence were scheduled to meet in August 2021, but Yordenis Ugas then stepped in and defeated Manny Pacquiao, who eventually retired from professional boxing as a result of the thorough loss. However, Spence was forced to pull out of the fight due to an eye injury, and Yordenis Ugas took his place. However, despite Spence knocking out Ugas through technical knockout in 2022, Pacquiao is not leaning toward him, and is instead leaning towards Crawford, who he feels has the stylistic edge.
The style advantage is Crawford has advantage against Spence.
But Manny hasn't said anything else about who he thinks will win, and the only other clear thing he's said is that he doesn't think the fight will be stopped early on. The style advantage, Crawford has that advantage against Spence, Pacquiao said to ES News, referring to Crawford's potential opportunity in their next fight. It's going to rely on the way that they train for the battle. I don't think it ends in a knockout. It's going to be a 12-round decision, was Pacquiao's prediction. Crawford, who is considered by many people in the boxing industry to be one of the finest pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, is a small betting favorite compared to Spence. However, the margin of victory is razor-thin and might go any way at any moment. But also, there is one thing that's certain. The victor of this fight will have a very good claim on being the finest fighter in the world when compared to their weight class, and Crawford is certain that this is the case. But he went one step further and said that he thinks victory against Spence would establish him as one of the best fighters of all time. Oscar de la Hoya predictions. Oscar de la Hoya offered his analysis and forecast for the welterweight championship fight that will soon take place between Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford. In addition, boxing fans have had to wait patiently for years in order to see the unification fight that will take place on July 29th in Las Vegas between the two finest welterweights in the world. De La Hoya is of the opinion that the scheduling of the fight is ideal, despite the fact that the majority of commentators would have rather seen the match take place earlier. I love the fight, Oscar told Battle Hype. He added, "Listen, some people are going to complain that it's 4 years too late. No, the time is great. Both of these individuals are now unbeaten, and they both seem to be at the peak of their game. Finally, the best fighter at welterweight is going up against the best fighter at welterweight, which makes me happy." When it comes to the fight itself, the promoter for Golden Boy is siding with Crawford because he believes the WBO welterweight champion has a greater arsenal than Spence has. In addition, he said,
I do favor Crawford. I mean, but that's my personal opinion, just by styles,
He added, his one-dimensional approach has clearly been successful for him up to this point, but I believe that Crawford has the potential to slowly but definitively break him down. The arsenal that Crawford has is far more comprehensive, more versatile. His footwork is quite impressive. He's got a whole slew of blows up his sleeve. He uses combinations in his throws. It's possible that I'm wrong, but I think it could be a bit much for Spence. Tell us in the comment section who you believe will come out on top in this fight, and explain why you have that opinion. And that wraps things up. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one.